Did everybody see the little notice that I'm recording, or did that not turn on?
It turned on.
Great. So we are going to record our session today and then make that session, the recording, available to you along with the PowerPoint for today. So again, if you are just joining us, I'm going to ask you if you would like to have the recording and the PowerPoint slides sent to you after our presentation today. I would ask that you put your email, drop it in the chat, and that way then we can email you. The second thing I'm going to ask is that we will keep everybody on mute unless we're talking. That way then we don't have a whole bunch of background noise. So, all right, well, let's go ahead and get started. Welcome to the student information session. If you are looking for information about the Long Beach Community Internship Program or the College Core at the Beach program, or both, you are in the right space. And so what I want to start with today is to tell you a little bit about what we're going to cover. We're going to do just a brief introduction of team members who are on the call today. And then we're going to do a pretty fast but comprehensive overview of the College Core at the Beach and the Long Beach Community Internship Program so that you can determine which one you're interested in, which ones you qualify for. And then really then the next piece is to actually talk about key dates, the application process. We have some tips for you for completing the application and updating your resume. And then we want to make sure that there's time to answer any questions that you might have. And to know there's no dumb question. If you've got that question, somebody else has that question. And so if you have a question and you can drop it in the chat, and then we can make sure that we answer it, or you can hold on to it at the end and you can unmute yourself at the end and ask. All right, so let's start with introductions. I will introduce myself and then I will open it up for those on our team who are also here today. So my name is Beth Mankey. I am a professor in the Department of Human Development. I serve as the lead of the Long Beach Community Internship Program, and I'm also one of the co-leads of the College Core at the Beach program. So I am super excited that we have this opportunity to offer both programs to students on our campus. I see it as a growing trend of thinking about paid internship opportunities for our students, and in particular, coming from an equity grounded approach. So really thinking about students maybe who have historically not been included in programs such as these. So I'm excited to tell you about the program today, and I'm excited to work with the team of folks that we have. So I'm gonna pop it over to Christine Whitcraft, who looks like she pulled over to the side of the road. And maybe she can introduce herself, and then we'll have other folks on our team introduce themselves. So Christine.
Hi, thank you for the introduction. Sorry that this was planned stop, but we were a couple minutes late. So I am a faculty in biological sciences, as well as the director of environmental science and policy. And I'm super excited to engage in the internship.
Ooh, I think we might have lost Christine. Did we lose her? We may have. Well, we can come back to Christine.
Sorry. I'm using Wi-Fi and it went out. Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Well, that's good. I apologize for that terrible connection. We were at a place that was giving Wi-Fi. We are focusing some of our subject matter the internship we'll learn about on climate and environmental justice and associated issues. So I'm super excited to bring internships not only to a new group of students, but potentially on a new subject that we haven't focused on as much. So thank you guys for being here, and I look forward to seeing some of you guys in internships.
Great. Thank you, Christine. Juan?
Hi, everyone. And this is how committed Dr. Whitcraft is. She's like on top of Mount Everest right now, dialing in to be with us. So I'm Juan Benitez. I'm our executive director here at our Center for Community engagement on campus. And I basically just help make the magic sauce that Dr. Mankey and Dr. Whitcraft use to make everything great. So, one of my big roles here is around our vision as a university around community engagement and the public good, and just providing all the support that our university and community partners need for students to have awesome experiences through these internship opportunities. So I will pass it on to, is Michelle here? Yeah, there's Michelle. Michelle Chang.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Michelle, and I am the internship specialist for the College of Liberal Arts. I work with the LBCIP team in providing professional development to students, as well as getting you prepared for the interview and matching process with your organizations. So welcome. And I'll pass it to Jake.
Hey, how's it going, everybody? I'm Jake Wilson. I'm a faculty member in the sociology department, LBCIP team member. I teach one of the internship classes. And I'm also a researcher who studies and works with the labor movement. So I'm really committed to good jobs that uplift communities and workers. And I look forward to hopefully working with a lot of you all to support you in the class.
Then we can move to Crystal.
Hi, thank you, Beth. Hi, everyone. My name is Crystal King, and I am not only a Cal State Long Beach alumna, but an LBCIP alumna as well. And now I have the pleasure of working on this project with LBCIP and College Corps through the Career Development Center at Cal State Long Beach. So I bring a little bit of a different perspective as somebody who went through these programs in the student role. And I'm just excited that we have so many people already who are interested in this experience, because I know for myself, it was beyond beneficial and transformative. So we're really happy to have you here.
Fantastic. And we have a couple of other team members who are not here today. Actually, one, Lisa Okada Sparks from Community Health Education. She serves on the Long Beach Community Internship Program. And so if you are accepted into that program, you will see a lot of Lisa in addition to Jake and Michelle and myself and Crystal. So fantastic. So let's talk a little bit. I mean, in some respects, I may be, as they say, preaching to the choir and talking about the benefits of internships, since you are here to hear information. But maybe you didn't know that 94% of employers are more likely to hire a candidate with internship experience. And 60% of students who complete an internship receive a job offer after graduation. So we know the importance of internships for post-graduation success. However, if you have to work part or full time or take financial aid in order to pay for your tuition, we recognize that doing an unpaid internship most likely is not possible. And so that is why we are committed with both of these programs of providing paid opportunities for our students. And so what I wanted to do is I want to go through just a couple of the basics that really cover both programs, the mission and goals, and some of the actual benefits. So let's take the mission and the goals. So if someone were to ask you, well, what are they all about? What are they doing? So both programs aim to increase the number of low-income CSULB undergraduates who complete paid internships. We're particularly interested in students who are first in their families to go to college, maybe those who have to take out loans in order to pay for college, and students of color. Another program goal is we provide opportunities for students to do meaningful work in their neighborhoods while they apply coursework to real-world settings, hone professional skills, network, and explore career opportunities. So we see it as this really integral piece of your education in terms of thinking about, okay, what am I going to do with this degree? As I'm sure that many of you gotten asked by your families, like, so your history major, what are you going to do with that? We see that internships really help you or provide you that opportunity to connect with your learning in the classroom to what's going on in the real world, while also honing those skills to figure out what's next for you. We are also committed to supporting the work of community-based organizations as they build more equitable communities and address societal challenges. And that can be defined in multiple ways: environment and climate change, which we're going to hear a little bit more about here in a minute, food insecurity, affordable housing, K-12 education, culture and arts, all of those sorts of challenges for our local community. And then the last one is we really are committed to developing what we call a pipeline of talent for our nonprofit organizations. We recognize that you have just an unbelievable number of skills, talents, assets, and we want our local community to know about you, to know about what you bring to their organization. And so we see this as developing a continual pipeline of talent for those organizations. In terms of the benefits to you as a student, is that if you are selected for one of these programs, we will guarantee an internship placement for you with a nonprofit organization. As you're going to hear about in a few minutes, is that if you're selected for the program, you will interview with nonprofits as part of us curating a good match for you. But to know that if you are selected for the program, we guarantee a placement for you. So the interviewing is to really hone where you're going to be, not to determine if you get a placement. We also see as benefits the professional development training and networking opportunities, and these can come from many different sources. So Michelle Chang will be developing workshops and training along with Crystal and the folks at the Career Development Center. So really connecting you to the training and networking, both from campus and from our local communities. We have lots of great community professionals who will be providing some of those professional development workshop trainings as well. You will, as part of your participation in either program, enroll in an internship course, a 3-unit internship course. And again, we're going to talk about this more in a few minutes. We will help you identify what is the most appropriate internship course for you and facilitate registration in that class. So you're not out on your own trying to figure out what internship course. We will help you do that. Both programs come with a monetary award, which we're going to talk about in terms of how much that is and how that gets paid out. And perhaps just as important, we find that students benefit from their participation in these programs by experiencing maybe an increased sense of belonging on campus, belonging in your community, increased self-confidence and opportunities to test future career options. And I wanted to share with you just a few photos and narratives that have been provided by students who have been in these programs, who know the value of internships, and not just internships, but participating in programs like the Long Beach Community Internship Program and College Corps at the Beach. So this actually comes from a student from last semester. Her name's Arena. She's a community health education major, and she actually did her internship at the city of Long Beach in health and human services. And so you can read her narrative there and see her picture. But two of the pieces that I thought was really important to highlight is that she really talks about gaining a sense of confidence in herself through the hands-on experience at her internship site and as part of this program. And she even goes further to talk about rediscovering herself. She says, once again, seeing the child who loves learning in school and someone who truly believes the world has endless possibilities. So beyond thinking about the actual skill sets or networking, this has been transformative for Raina and thinking about her self-confidence and the idea that there's a positive future for her. Likewise, I wanted to share with you Sam's submission, his photo and his narrative. He talks a lot about clarity and sense of direction. He did his internship, the Long Beach Community Action Partnership, one of our nonprofits. And he talks about really getting to marry the theory in the classroom and the real world experience, and then saying that he really sees and feels that excitement about pursuing this career path for himself, and that it's given him that sense of clarity. And so we know that these experiences are transformative for students just like yourselves. And then I'll just share with you here too is that, and I'm going to make these available to all of you after this session today, but you can even see other students' comments and the students, where they've been placed and in what majors, because we do produce what we call student profile books or highlight books at the end of every cohort, so that potential funders and also potential students can kind of see like, well, what sorts of students participate, from what majors and where might they be placed and what are they experiencing. And so I'll make this available to you from our fall 2021 cohort of the Long Beach Community Internship Program. All right, I want to hand things over to Juan Benitez, who's going to talk a little bit about eligibility.
Thank you, Beth. So although we want as many students to apply, eligible students to apply to both of these internship opportunities, there are some important differences that we want to highlight, both in regards to eligibility, but also in regards to requirements to complete each of the internship opportunities. So I want to draw your attention to the first couple of items on our chart here, this T graph. On the left, you'll see the eligibility requirements for the College Corps at the Beach internship. On the right, you'll see the eligibility requirements for the Long Beach Community Internship Program. So for the College Corps at the Beach, you must be an undergraduate enrolled full-time for both fall and spring semesters. And we'll talk about why that is. So you have to be enrolled full-time on our campus, both fall and spring of this coming academic year. For the Long Beach Community Internship Program, you have to be an undergraduate enrolled full-time for the fall 2022 semester. In addition, you have to have graduated from a Long Beach area high school, who we call our Long Beach Promise students. So those on the front end are two very important differences for you to consider in terms of which one you'll be applying to. If you meet both, you can apply to both of those. All the other requirements are consistent between both programs. So you have to be in good academic standing and conduct on campus. We want to prioritize those of you that demonstrate a financial need. So there'll be a couple things that we'll be looking at for both programs. And then finally, we highly encourage our dreamers, our AB 540 students, and those that are the first generation in their families to go to college to apply. So we're going to be looking out for those in terms of your application process. So that's in terms of your eligibility. Let's talk a little bit about some of the requirements for each. So for College Corps at the Beach, the internships will begin in August, late August. Same thing with the Long Beach Community Internship Program. So just want to remind you, there are two programs here. All right, and that's why we're spending so much time describing each, just to make sure that it's a good fit with you, your schedule, and where you're at right now in your educational experience. Second thing is the College Corps at the Beach, as I referenced, is a 2-semester program. So your internship is for 2 semesters. On the other hand, the Long Beach Community Internship Program is just a 1-semester commitment that we're asking you. The big difference here is, if you notice that last item on both sides of the T graph, for the College Corps at the Beach program, you must complete 450 hours of your service, of your internship across both semesters. So that averages out, depending on when you start, to about 14 to 18 hours a week. For the Long Beach Community Internship Program, it's a total of 90 hours that you must complete to meet the requirements of the program. And that averages out to about 6 to 8 hours. So there is a significant difference in terms of your hourly commitment. So think about what your upcoming fall and spring semesters look like. Think about what you're able to commit to. And obviously, if you're graduating in the fall, then that would make you ineligible for the College Corps at the Beach program, because that requires a 2-semester commitment. So I'm going to pass it on to Christine Whitgraft, and jot down questions if you have them as we're going along. Christine, she's going to talk a little bit about our placements.
Yes, thank you. So maybe appropriately, I am at a field station out in the environment. And part of what we are hoping to focus on in one of these 2 programs is a little more climate and environment oriented, but that's an important note. So first, again, you guys can see that there's a T chart here, which emphasizes the difference between the College Corps at the Beach and the Long Beach Community Internship Program. The Long Beach Community Internship Program, the internships really cover a broad range of themes, which include all the ones you see listed here, from affordable housing to LGBTQ rights, and onwards. The College Core at the Beach has a more thematic focus, and it is around this idea of climate change and environmental justice. And I really want to emphasize in our conversation that people often think of the environmental work in just what I'm doing, right? Sitting outside to get better internet in the wind. But we are using this climate change and environmental justice very broadly, because the climate where we live, whether that is the actual environment or sometimes the built environment of a city, are all related to social issues and economic issues. So we talk about climate change and sustainability as our broad theme of College Core at the Beach, but it includes climate change, environmental justice, food insecurity, which is part of where we get our food, how we get our food, and also climate K through 12 education as it relates to climate literacy. So how do we raise the next generation of climate aware and climate stewards? So this thematic difference is one of the key differences in placements, but you'll see it's just that one has a more specific focus in the College Core at the Beach, whereas the LBCIP program has a broader range of themes that could include some of those climate issues. So I am handing it then. Well, I guess I have one more comment, and you'll see one of the things we're trying to do in this is we really have a large and engaged community here in Long Beach, and you'll see that the potential placement sites in this slide span that range that you saw in LBCIP, but also span a range of organizations that reflect the depth of community associated with Long Beach and with Cal State Long Beach. So while this isn't a complete list, it gives you a great idea of the range of placement sites we have.
Fantastic. Thank you, Christine. And as Christine said, as you look at this placement site list, I just want to draw your attention to two things. One is it includes what I would call sort of large national organizations. I think Meals on Wheels is on this list, but it also includes grassroots efforts that are very specific to Long Beach. AOC7, which is a great community-based organization, et cetera, and then everything in between. We're also, and I should make note of this, is we're also anticipating a few campus-based placements. So we anticipate, for example, maybe placing 1 or 2 students with the sustainability office on campus, maybe a student placed with the Dream Success Center, and maybe even a student placed with Beach Pantry. So as you can see, all 3 of those campus entities really hit on these topics that are salient to both LBCIP and the College Core program. So again, these are just an example, but we always get questions from students like, well, where would I be placed, or what kinds of organizations? And I know that that's of interest. So we wanted to make sure you saw sort of the breadth, but you'll also see that on the student profile highlights from last fall that I will share with you. You can see the different kinds of places that our students engage with. And, I should make a note about that, really our goal here with both programs is to curate good matches. And we use that word very intentionally. So we're not just a placement like, oh, we're just going to find some place to put you. No, we really want to match your skills and interests and talents with the needs of our community organization. So we're looking for things where the match holds the greatest potential of benefit for both you and for our nonprofits. Okay, let's talk about compensation, which I know is on everybody's minds. You saw that Dr. Benitez talked about the differences in hour commitments. So College Core at the Beach has 450 hours of work across 2 semesters. And so not surprisingly, the monetary award for that program is larger than the monetary award for the Long Beach Community Internship Program. So that monetary piece for College Core at the Beach comes in 2 forms. One is a $7,000 living allowance. This living allowance will be paid out in $1,000 increments every month, beginning with the start of the internship. So we anticipate probably the first payment coming around October 1st, and then for 7 months following that. Upon completion of the 450 hours, you would also receive a $3,000 education award. And an educational award can be used to pay off previous student loans, and or it can be saved for future educational pursuits. So if you're a junior and you're doing this program, you could use the money the following year for tuition. Or if you're graduating in this next academic year, you could hold on to that education award and then use it in the future for like something like graduate school. Long Beach Community Internship Program has a $2,000 participation award. $1,000 of it will be paid out mid-semester and the other $1,000 at the completion of the internship. And so if you do the math and you divide 2,000 by 90, or you divide 10,000 by 450, one of the things you're going to find is that if you're thinking about it almost as an hourly rate, it comes out to almost exactly the same. So the monetary award is really consistent with the number of hours commitment. The last thing I want to say about compensation, and we'll get into this in more depth for those students who are accepted into the program, but I wanted you to be aware of the fact that these awards are paid out via the financial aid office. That means that we actually direct the money through them and then it comes to you. And so it's something to be mindful of, particularly for those of you who are interested in College Core. As you get your financial aid packages, you want to be really mindful about what types of financial aid you accept, because this will become part of that package. So let me give you an example. If you're getting a Pell grant, by all means take that, because that's not money you have to pay back. But where we would suggest a little mindful consideration is that when you're taking out loans that you have to pay back, because really the intent here, particularly with College Core at the beach, is to reduce the amount of debt that you have to pay back. And so if you're going to be receiving $7,000 in living allowance that you may not need, and your award may be dictated around not needing to take out a loan that you would have to pay back. And so we work very closely with financial aid office to ensure that we can put as much of this money directly into your pocket. And sometimes that requires a little bit of one-on-one work, where we might need to work with you to submit a request to have your need reevaluated or your income reevaluated. But to know we are committed to paying this out in the most equitable way possible, and to ensuring that you receive as much of this in your pocket as possible. But it's also going to require, though, you to be mindful about the financial aid piece. And again, we will circle back to this once we accept our group of students, and we'll talk about it in May in more depth. All right, internship course. We did mention that for both LBCIP and College Core, you will be taking a 3-unit internship course in the fall of 2022. And you can see for both the side of College Core and Long Beach Community Internship Program, the information is the same because the requirement is the same. You would be taking either an approved department level course, and I listed a few of them there that we have approved. Child development, criminal justice, film, electronic arts, human development, ES&P and geography, etc. These are not the only courses, but these are certainly ones that we're familiar with that we've approved. But if you are in a department or college that does not have a approved course, internship course, we have courses that, in fact, Jake Wilson on our team will be teaching in the fall for all the students to be able to take who are doing LBCIP or College Core. So we have a space for you. We will help facilitate registration. We'll help identify which is the best course for you to take. So no need to worry about that now, even though I know you are registering for courses right now. So there's nothing that you need to be doing at this point. Okay. Some of you might be asking, well, why do I need to take an internship course? And so I just want to spend just a minute talking about the 3 reasons. The first really has to do with fair labor standards. That we take very seriously that the internship be connected to your coursework. So in other words, we want to make sure that no entity, no organization is just looking for cheap labor. We want to make sure that these are professional experiences, and by doing a course, we're able to embed in your experience interactions with an instructor and peers where you're doing things like self-reflection. So in essence, as in the second bullet here, is that your internship is what we call a high impact practice. And that just simply means You're getting the opportunity to apply coursework to real world experiences or situations. You're reflecting on your experiences. You're discussing your experiences, problem solving with your peers and instructor. And then the last point is more of a logistics thing, which is that we do provide student professional liability. And that covers you in terms of anything that would happen out on the site. And in order to have that insurance, you have to be registered for an internship course. All right. Just as a quick summary, this is a nice little table that summarizes everything we just went over. So you get College Core, you get Long Beach Community Internship Program, and you can look down and you can actually see where they're different and where they're similar. So I'm not going to read that for you. Like I said, I'm going to provide this for you afterwards, but this is a nice way to just kind of look, and it summarizes our previous slides. So everything from eligibility, duration, hours, compensation, placement areas, and required internship coursework. Okay, I'm going to hand things back over, I think, to Juan, who's going to talk a little bit about the application process.
Thank you, Beth. So we've tried to make our process as streamlined and as straightforward as possible so that every single one of you here that is eligible applies, right? We don't want this to be cumbersome or burdensome. Having said that, one of the things that we've done is we've made it so that you're only going to use one application process, right? So the application for College Core at the Beach and the Long Beach Internship Program is the same one. What you'll have to do though is you'll have to decide, you'll have the option of applying for one of those programs or both if you meet eligibility and you can complete the requirements for both. So what we're going to do is we'll ask you to upload a resume. There's the QR code. So if you wanted to check it out right now, you could check it out. We're going to hold to a strict deadline of May 1st at 11:59 p.m. And that's because when we'll show you one of the next slides, we're on a really tight timeline, right, to get everything going. So make sure to check out the application process, get started early on. So there's basically two sections in our application. The first will ask you some basic personal information, your name, email address, expected graduation semester. And then we have a second section where we ask you more open-ended questions about your experiences, your motivation for applying to these internship opportunities, your interests. So you'll have a chance to share more about yourself and why you think you're a good fit for this opportunity. Some of the questions that we'll ask you have word limits, so pay attention to those. We'll ask you about, why you're interested in, being placed at a nonprofit organization, what some of your professional goals are, and why you think these opportunities will help you achieve those goals. And then we'll also ask you about some of your accomplishments. And anything you want to share with us, again, for us to consider as to why this would be a great opportunity for you. So if you have questions about anything regarding the application, please feel free to reach out to us. The application is also available on the websites, which we'll share with you. So some tips, all right? And these may seem pretty straightforward, but once you start filling it out, you'll be like, oh, let me go back to that tip sheet. So the first is really do consider the broad range of experiences that you've already had on and off campus. All of you come with gifts, with talents, with skills. Here's your opportunity to highlight those things. Make sure to give yourself enough time to review and complete the application. So please don't wait till 11:50 on May 1st to get this done, right? I see my colleagues laughing here. We can tell right away who's thought about it, who's reflected, who's taken the time and effort for something as important as these internship opportunities. One tip is to type out your open-ended responses elsewhere. So open up a Word document, proofread it, use those tools on Microsoft Word, check for errors, and then copy and paste it into the application, right? So you're not trying to fill it out and thinking about it at the same time. And then finally, follow the directions and pay attention to word counts for open-ended questions. So when you're doing it on a Word document, for example, you can just highlight that section and it'll tell you you're at 205 words, you're 5 words over, right? Or at 153, you're 3 words over. So these are just some tips. The goal here is that we want you to be mindful that this isn't something you're going to be able to do in 5 minutes before the deadline, right? And that we're really going to be looking for who's really thinking about making a commitment, who's bringing in their assets, talents, and gifts, and who's really interested in this opportunity? I think I'm passing it back to you, Beth. Or is that still me on the resume tips?
Nope, I'm gonna pass that on over to Crystal.
Oh, sorry, Crystal.
Yeah.
No problem. Beth, I saw that classic Zoom. Don't realize you're on mute, right?
You'd think after 2 years, you'd get it right, right?
It happens to all of us even now. Okay, so with your application, you will all be required to submit a resume as well. And some of you may not even have resumes, so we do have a few resources for you to access. The link to a video that Michelle Chang has created will be included with the PDF that we send to you all who have included your email in the chat. So if you haven't done that, please do. This is some professional development, whether or not you apply, whether or not you get accepted and participate. But these resources are really going to take your resume to the next level. I know they took mine to the next level. On the right-hand side, you can see some things to consider, which the video will go through as well. Professional summary, your education, courseworks and projects you may have worked on, any on-campus involvement or jobs, other internships, volunteers, volunteer experiences, and applicable skills. And you know, the resume is important. We want you to spend time on this the same way we want you to spend time on the application, but don't sell yourself short just because you may have a more bare bones resume. Maybe you don't have as many experiences as you feel like you ought to. As long as you dedicate the time and the attention to the resume along with the application, we are using these in combination with each other. It is not one thing that we are looking at. So as you can see, I have also listed some of the workshops through the Career Development Center that are upcoming, and thankfully they are within time to recraft or edit or create your resume. Two of them, all three of them are actually, you can do virtually. One of them will be in person, and through the Career Development Center, you can also come in and get one-on-one guidance on your resume. So feel free to check out the website through the Cal State Long Beach website. Also to note, in your resume, one of the most important things or things that can really take it to the next level is to use action-oriented, results-driven statements. These will really showcase what you have done and what you can bring to a potential nonprofit organization. Ooh, and I see more emails coming in the chat. That's what I love. Awesome. So these are how we use those action-driven verbs. As you can see on the left, it's I did X using Y, resulting in Z. So on the right, the examples, the generic would be, I wrote reports for a supervisor, whereas the enhanced would be, I compiled and developed data reports using SPSS for the director to share at stakeholder meetings. That second sentence profiles so much more. And it's the same thing. It's not, neither is like more true or less true. You know, it's just expanded. And I remember when I went through these resources that we're going to provide for you, that one of the nonprofits that I was interviewing with was like, you are a waitress? And this does not sound like a waitressing job. And that was because I did this. It is a game changer. So I highly recommend that everybody check out the resources we'll provide.
Fantastic. Thank you, Crystal. So as Dr. Benitez mentioned, these are the two websites that if you want to check out more information, that is there. It's going to be a lot of what we presented today, but maybe with some more links and things for resources. When I send out the PDF that has these slides, these will be live links. And so you can click right on them and go to the various websites. So again, if you are here and you want a copy of this PDF, you want a copy of, the slides, and you want a copy of the recording and the kind of resources that Crystal just talked about, make sure that you've dropped your email into the chat, and that way then we can follow up and send you that. All right, last thing before we open it up for questions is I want to go through the timeline with you very briefly. So today is student information session. As Dr. Benitez mentioned, we do have a hard deadline for applications, which is May 1st, and you will submit those online. Here is the QR code. The link to that application was on that flyer you probably got that told you about this information session. And those links are on the website, so they're everywhere. So you should be able to find them, but if you have difficulty, please do not hesitate to reach out to us. May 13th is by May 13th, you will get notified about your status. So if you are accepted into the program, you will know by May 13th, and we will begin having conversations with you about which of the internship classes is most appropriate for you. May 20th, we are going to have a very brief program orientation and signing ceremony. We'll basically have two separate, one for Long Beach Community Internship Program and one for College Core. And here's where we'll go over the logistics and talk about what's going to happen in the summer. We want to make sure that we have that orientation before you all go off into your beautiful summer breaks. And so we will meet briefly to talk logistics on May 20th. Then you will have 10 days in June to actually go on and look at all the different internship sites where we will be placing students along with their position descriptions. So you will get a really good sense of where we're placing students, and you will have an opportunity to indicate which placements seem most enticing to you. We're going to be encouraging you to think broadly, because sometimes placements that don't initially sound like a good fit might actually wind up being the best placement for you. But we want to give you the opportunity to kind of say like, oh, I would go to any of these, but I'm really drawn to these 7 or these 10 or something along those lines. Then at the beginning of, or the middle to the end of July, we will be doing the interviews with community organizations to determine placements. I'm going to gather that most of those interviews are going to happen over Zoom. So particularly if you are going away for the summer, no worries. These will be handled over Zoom or over phone. And then you will have the opportunity to provide us with some feedback by August 1st saying, oh, wow, I interviewed with these 3, I would do any of the 3, but if I had to rank them, I'd rank them like this, etc. It's with that feedback that you provide us and the feedback that we get from the nonprofits who interview you that will determine your final placement. And those final placements will be announced by August 12th. And then at the end of August, week of August 22nd, classes start. So as you can see, we are on, as Dr. Benitez said, a pretty tight timeline, but very well spaced out and organized. So again, our goal here is to give you the chance to apply. We'll review applications and select. We give you an opportunity to weigh in on the kinds of placements, and then you do interviews. We do final matches. Probably the week of August 15th, there will also be some training, most likely virtually, or they may occur maybe after Labor Day. But this idea of getting you up and going by the beginning of September so you can begin your placements. And then there will be ongoing things throughout the semester. And those of you who are in College Core throughout the entire academic year. Trainings, workshops, ability to network with other organizations, and even network with some students and organizations across the state of California. All right. I know that is tons of information, all crammed into what, 45 minutes? Yes, 45 minutes. And so the last 15 minutes, we want to open it up for questions. You can pop your question in the chat, or if you want to raise your hand and we can, you can unmute yourself and ask the question. We are happy and excited to answer any questions that you might have. So I'm going to stop the share just in case we have some people who want to unmute themselves. You can do that and we can share information with you. So any questions that people have?
So we have a question in the chat. How many total courses are required to take?
Yep.
So that's one course, one internship course. And as Dr. Menke shared, we will help you figure out which course that is.
Yeah, right. And so for those of you in College Core, you do not have to take a course in the spring of next semester. It's just that everybody will take one class, 1 3-unit class in the fall of 2022, this upcoming fall semester. Other questions that people have? Because I know you have them.
Yeah, I see that Sammy looks like raised the hand. Do you want to come off mute?
Yeah, sure. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Sammy. I'm a senior accounting major, going to be graduating in this fall. And my question was going to be about the course. Is it kind of like because I know for an accounting internship course, you kind of just write like a 1 or 2 page paper and then send it in to Dr. Lacey. Is it going to be kind of like that, or is it like a classroom setting where you come Monday and Wednesday?
It's probably neither. It's the third option,
Okay.
which is more like not so much about papers, but more about self-reflection, developing learning objectives, things of that nature. Actually, Jake's here. Maybe Jake, you want to comment a little bit about that?
Sure. Hey, Sammy. Yeah, so each week the course focuses on a new theme, right? And so it could be, making your resume the very best it's ever been, before you graduate and get on the job market. It could be interview skills. It could be networking, challenges in the workplace rights, lots of different things that we're going to continue to put in your knapsack so you have a backpack full of skills by the time you end this course. But the other part of it is building community. It's fellow interns working with each other, working with the course instructor. As the instructor, I'm just super supportive of you all and work with you every week. And sometimes challenges come up, and I'm here to support you. So that's a big part of it.
Fantastic. So I see a couple questions in the chat. One of them, I'm going to come back to the first one in here in a second, but is the May 20th orientation in person or Zoom? It's on Zoom. Because I know that those of you who do not live locally or your permanent residence is not local, you will go home and then once classes are done. And so May 20th will definitely be on Zoom. So I see Graciela asked, for the Long Beach Community Internship, is it 90 hours maximum or can we go over? I'm required to do 120 as community health major. Yes, it's 90 hours minimum. And we recognize that different departments, majors, and courses might have different requirements. So you're right, the community health majors have to do 120. I think criminal justice majors do 130. Is that right, Crystal? Somewhere around 130. But in contrast, for example, human development majors and their course, I think only do 60. And so we want to be clear that the minimum is 90, but if you have requirements from your major or the course you're taking, your internship course has more, than absolutely you can do more. And then I saw there was a question, I believe, from William, if there are internship opportunities for engineering majors. Absolutely. We've had several engineering majors who have worked with us. I mean, it's probably a little more challenging about thinking about placements, but that's why it's so important on your application to think about your interest areas and the kinds of things you want to do, because that helps us sort of pinpoint places that would be a good fit. So sometimes that might be a city department who is doing the kinds of work where they bring on engineering students. And so most definitely, we are probably, College Core and Long Beach Community Internship Program are the only two current internship programs on our campus that cut across all majors. So historically, we've had students from every college, CHHS, College of Health and Human Services, engineering, College of the Arts, liberal arts, business, etc. I think we've had something like 30 some different majors represented in our student body. So we encourage everyone to apply. And in fact, I'll be honest that who we accept in your applications in some ways helps us determine which nonprofits we're bringing aboard to interview students. We want to make sure that there are plenty of opportunities for you that fit well with your interests.
Dr. Mankey, can I just share a couple of things that may not stand out at first in terms of an engineering student?
Yeah.
You know, if we look at like climate action, for instance, there are research questions and issues around our breakwater here in Long Beach, right? And the impacts from an engineering perspective. There are a lot of organizations that do work around the built environment, right? So if we're looking about like green space or park equity, you know, city fabric, right? Design,
Yes.
any of these things. So really, as Dr. Mankey shared, it may not look like it on the face of it, but there's so many underpinning issues, assets in our community that our community partners are involved in. So it may not stick out, but if you write in there, hey, I've worked on, you know, I've taken classes on the built environment or something that a community partner may be like, oh, we've been wanting to do that. We just haven't had capacity to do it. Here's your time to showcase your talents.
Yeah, that's such a great point, Dr. Benitez. You know, I'll bring another example to the fore as well. We work with Link Housing. They're an affordable housing builder. They work with engineering students all the time, but they also work with accounting majors, sociology majors. They do direct service. So a lot of times, some of our nonprofits are, you know, I say they support multi-function. So affordable housing means we have to build homes, then we have to support residents. We have to do marketing and PR. So within that one organization, we would have the opportunity to place a communications major, a PR major, a sociology major, engineering, you know, an arts major as they're doing arts programming, et cetera. So again, to not discount nonprofits. In fact, one of the things that I always find exciting is when we hear students who've been in these programs say, wow, I never thought of the nonprofit sector as a potential area, and how rich it is in terms of opportunities. And so being open to those opportunities, and the best way for us to curate a match for you is to be specific about your skills and interests, talents, or as Dr. Benitez says, your gifts, and even the kinds of things that you may not have thought about as gifts. If you have language skills, you speak another language, by all means, make sure that that is on your resume and on your application. You've led teams or projects, you've worked with specific software packages, you know how to create videos or whatever it happens to be. Those are all really sought after talent and skills by our nonprofits.
You've done a quinceañera planning for your 15-year-old cousin or sister where 250 people came and you coordinated logistics for that. Again, educationally, that might not stand out in many of your classes, right? But when you think about what have you actually been involved with, maybe you were a broker between your family and a health system, right? And you helped someone get access to healthcare during these last 2 years. All that stuff we need to hear about.
Yeah, absolutely. Nikki asked whether you can start the application and come back and finish it. You can. In fact, it's set up so that if you go to the link on the same computer with the same IP address, it'll take you back to where you are. And if you have problems with that, then to let us know. But I can oftentimes see like completed applications, and then I see how many are in progress. And so you should be able to back up, et cetera. So I don't think there's a technical save button and then you log in, but you should be able to navigate back and forth. I don't know, Michelle, did you have a comment about that? I don't know. I thought I saw you. No, okay. But if you do have problems with it, let us know in that sense. But, you know, I think that one of the best things, you know, actually one of the things I'll do, but I hadn't really thought about it, but I will do this for all of you, is I'm going to actually download a PDF of the application and send it to you so you can see all the questions. And that way, in fact, actually, you could prepare the entire application prior to even going online. You can see what the questions are. You can be able to think about all your answers and put it in a Word document and then have it all to upload. Yeah, so Jaylene asked the question, does the program place us with a nonprofit, or is that a decision the student makes? So it's really a combination. We take into consideration your feedback. You're going to interview with at least 3 nonprofits that we pick for you, based in part on your stated interests, but also based in part on the entire group of students that we have. So what you have to recognize is, if we're accepting, say, for example, we're going to be taking 50 students in College Core and probably somewhere around 25 to 30 Long Beach Community Internship Project students. If we have a subset of nonprofits, we have to balance the interests, skills, talents, and gifts of all students, and then the needs of all of our nonprofits. So the final decisions are made by our team based on a host of factors, but most especially your feedback from those interviews that you do, and the feedback from the nonprofits that are interviewing you. And I will tell you that in this last round of placements, we were able to place students with either their first or their second choice. And so I think that you will find that the time we put into curating that match, you'll really see that. It's not a random placement. It's really based on information about you and the needs of our nonprofits. Any other questions? I think we might have answered the ones that are in there. We do have a couple minutes left if others have any other questions that they would like to share or ask. Will the 3 units internship cost towards being a full-time student? Yes. So if I was taking 9 units next semester, will the internship course push me to 12? Yes. That's exactly right, Sammy. So, and that's why we work with students to figure out, I'll be honest, we also sometimes will work to advocate on your behalf. So for example, sometimes we've been able to get that internship course to count for something in your major, to replace something, et cetera, in rare circumstances. So we're working with you in your schedule to ensure that you can do the work that you are coming on board to do, and that internship course fits in your schedule. It's the right fit for you, that you don't have too many units. We want to make sure that you are on track to graduate when you plan to graduate, and to be able to adjust accordingly.
I have a quick question. This might be a silly question, but I saw on the slide that you showed the different programs, including Migrant Action and then Cambodian Community, and all of those. So my question is, what if I am interested in involved in one of the site like Cambodian Community? What type of projects that I would like take, or like I wanted to see what type of things that I wanted to prepare and do like self-reflection, so I can, like, if I get into the program, I want to be able to like sit down and self-reflect what I wanted to do, not just for money motivation, but actually like what I wanted to help the community. So
Yeah. That's a great question. So that's why one of the things that we are doing with community organizations right now that are interested in hosting our students, we're asking them to craft position descriptions. And that's exactly what you would be looking at in June, beginning of June, if you're accepted into the program. So you would go through and be able to go like, oh, there's the Khmer Girls in Action. And then you'd be like, well, what's the position there? And then you get to read it, and you'd get to see what's their mission statement. You could look at their website. You could look at the tasks and responsibilities that you would be doing, and to determine, oh, wow, yeah, that sounds interesting to me. I could imagine myself doing that, and to really be thinking through, what would that look like or feel like to be at that nonprofit. So your question is really a great question, because what you're doing is you're thinking about, it's not just place, it's responsibility and assignment, and how does that align? And that's why we require our nonprofits to produce a position description so that you can see. So for example, I think it's particularly important for students maybe who are engineers or accounting students. So like you would look to see like, okay, well, who has an accounting related position description. You wouldn't apply for something that maybe is so far outside of what you want to do. So again, those position descriptions and your review of them will be important, and you will have that opportunity to fill out online all the places that sound like something you might be interested in.
Okay, so which means that like after I did all the applications and interview, that's almost toward the last step, or
No, it would be before the interview. So what would
oh, before?
happen?
Okay.
Yeah, so once you do your application, once you're accepted, almost immediately after that, we will be giving you a link to where you can go on and view all the places that will be hosting student interns as part of our projects.
Okay.
And to review those. So that, and we're going to use that and your feedback to determine who you will interview with.
Okay, I got it. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome. Anyone else? These are all fantastic questions.
Yeah, I had one more question. I just want a little bit more clarification on the course. It sounds like it's something that's gonna be like online, and I'll be able to work around my schedule with, yeah.
Yeah, Sammy, it's fully online, asynchronous. There's like weekly deadlines, but you have basically 6 or 7 days to work on things at your own pace and coordinate with probably a small group of students you'll be working with that you kind of self-organize to do a couple of like, assignments that require interaction and things like that. But it'll vary, but it'll always be very flexible. I'll say
Okay,
that.
perfect,
Yeah.
perfect. Thank you.
Yeah, and really the goal is not to create busy work, but to really create meaningful, the ability to get the most out of your internship and to really think about how does this internship serve me in multiple ways? How does it increase my self-confidence, my sense of belonging, my opportunities post-graduation, as opposed to, oh, I just have this paper I have to write. It's like, no, it's really, there's no tests. It's not like that. There's no memorization. It's really about activities designed to facilitate a positive experience at your internship. And so sometimes it'll be, like I said, one of the first tasks Dr. Wilson would have you do if you were in his class would be, you would develop learning objectives and goals. So figuring out, okay, well, what do I want to accomplish at my internship site? So there are things that you might have done on your own outside of the course. We're just going to give you course credit for it in order to be actually doing these sorts of things. All right. Any other last questions before we shut down? All right, great. So I'm going to remind you one last time, for those of you who are still on, if you would like a copy of the PowerPoint, the resources, and a PDF of the actual application so you can see all the questions, make sure that you have popped your email address into the chat. We'll save the chat, and then we will make sure that we get all of that out to you by the end of the day.
Thanks. Everybody enjoy the afternoon.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much. Thanks for coming, everybody.